once you get into the practices, the methods that we're looking at, you realize locomotion and running is the ultimate expression of human functionality. It's one of the greatest joys of being human if you can do it well without injury. So when I got banned from FP, I was looking for anyone else, any other practices out there that were asking the right questions. To program something into the body, you need like thousands of good repetitions, like thousands of positive repetitions. And that's what Weckmethod gives you with the rope.
Welcome, my name is Matthijs and you're listening to Injured Dumbass, your go-to podcast if you want to get rid of your injuries and optimize your health. I've seen more than 40 physiotherapists, podiatrists, had a knee surgery, an MRI scan and saw many more professionals that didn't know how to help me with my injuries. And after 5 years of struggling, a man named 𝙎𝙪 𝙎𝙪 helped me with a fairly unknown form of therapy called PDTR. He fixed my knee stabilization in 2 hours. Something that all the previous professionals could not achieve. And after that experience, I swore to dedicate my life to learning and sharing problem-solving knowledge. Everything to optimize your health and help you to get rid and stay away from injuries.
Gezondheid draait niet om voeding, maar het draait om energie. Het draait dus om elektromagnetisme opwekken en het is niet voedingafhankelijk.
And here comes the crying and the activation of the brain. I have the question for the people who have absolutely no clue what is TRE. Okay.
Injuries, because I was wondering, have you ever dealt with physical injuries?
Yes, I did. And
Welcome to Injured Dumbass. My name is Matthijs and today my guest is Tim Shieff, also known as Timothy Shieff. And you maybe know him from being a world champion in free running, Ninja Warrior champion of the UK, ex-vegan clothing life entrepreneur, and after a 35-day water fast, you learned that veganism was not the way for your personal health. So you stirred up the vegan community real good with that personal move. You interviewed two of my favorite podcasts and people I know from the internet, who are Brian Rose with London Real and Living 4D with the holistic health OG, Paul Chek. And my compliments for making Brian Rose drinking his own urine.
I thought about that today. Yeah, on camera.
You experiment with food, health techniques, and therapies. And one of the interesting things that I found is that you found functional patterns and replaced or strengthened that view on human biomechanics using the Weck method.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I can tell, you are a living example of growth and health, and which comes from a depression, brain fog, and painful biomechanics to a highly energetic, awake, proper human being that is still learning, experimenting, and growing in life. And I'm incredibly thankful for your journey, your honesty, and the knowledge that you put out based on your human experience. So Tim Shieff, it is a very great honor to have you on. Welcome to Injured Dumbass. How is life on your side of the North Sea?
Thank you, Matthijs. That was a wonderful, kind introduction. And I appreciate that I can see how deeply you've tapped into some of my journey. And Injured Dumbass, when I first saw that name, I thought that's a bit of it's an oddball name, but at the same time, it kind of sums up like how a lot of us have lived, I think.
Yeah, that was the biggest reason for me to take that name. I felt like an Injured Dumbass because I saw so many professionals. They couldn't give me answers, but I also couldn't give myself any answers. So that was the identity that I really thought of for that situation. But now I had to let go of that identity because I'm not that person. I am Matthijs.
Yeah. So it's the Paul Chek says the fastest way to health is honesty, right? So you were honest in calling yourself injured dumbass, but then if you were to continue to perpetuate the affirmation of that, it's not going to be healthy. So
exactly, yeah. I was speaking to one of the I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and one of the guys who's a friend of the teacher, he did a video call with me, and he also was speaking about Ido Portal and functional patterns. That he trained with Ido Portal, and he said like lots of the people who train over there, they have really big daddy issues. And he said a similar thing is with the functional patterns people. They keep just telling, I'm so dysfunctional, but I'm almost there, or something like that. It's completely always dropping affirmations that you're dysfunctional instead of saying I'm a healthy human being with a whole spirit, a whole working body and mind. So
a lot of self-deprecation in those communities. Well, in functional patterns, I see it for sure.
Yeah. So how did your journey went? Because I've seen you on London Real, where you spoke about veganism, where you spoke about your fast. I've listened to you with Paul Chek, and then I started really watching more of your content, and you really got me going on with the Weckmethod. That really fired me up because
yes,
I had the I had the similar experience when I wanted to get into functional patterns, and I was, I bought the book, I did the 10-week course, and then I found a good practitioner who was also teaching other people in the Netherlands. But I got into some beef with Naudi himself on Instagram because after a couple of years following him, you could really notice the aggression that he was always.
Doesn't take years, but it's definitely
yeah, it doesn't take years. But I first had the feeling, all right, I'm here for the good stuff, and I'm here
exactly
to take the value.
So many people follow him for that, and they're like, he's got some good points, but he's really aggressive and angry, but I still follow him. Yeah, go on. So you got some beef with him on that, and he banned you, or what?
I was getting so incredibly tired of all the negative shit,
negativity,
and always saying, come on, you have to acknowledge me, you have to acknowledge FP. And I was thinking, man, your results speak for themselves. You don't need to shout and get it out.
He holds the functional patterns movement is held back by Naudi. His energy and his emotion towards acting like he doesn't want credit, but then always acting like he wants the credit, it keeps it stuck in this position where it can't grow. It's got huge potential, but at the same time, there are errors in it. It's so left brain logical that it doesn't allow
the feeling part. No,
exactly. It doesn't allow that. It doesn't address emotions of all these people that, like you say, have daddy issues or whatever issues they have. They've got some emotional storage in the body. Yeah. And I think I may have heard him talk about emotional stuff once or twice, but never emphasizes how important that is. I got banned from functional patterns.
I also think that's maybe a bit of marketing. I mean, he functions solely on biomechanics, and a good friend of mine, he is an a level 2 FP practitioner.
Yeah, HBS.
And he told me that when he went to Hawaii and he was standing there, he's also very much into mitochondria and hydrating the body, so mitochondria can make as much water for your tissues.
Yeah,
and the guy who teaches in the Netherlands also broke down by Naudi working on his glute medius, I think, and it brought all traumas up. So, but he's not an idiot. He's a very smart man. But what is your experience with functional patterns so far?
So I got into it. He was asking all the right questions. I'd somehow come to the position myself where I got into running, and I got injuries running, and I realized, like, if I'm getting injured running, that's really the foundation of human movement. Because you're doing such repetitive motions that it's highlighting any imbalances in the body. So I somehow discovered it myself that was the gateway to, like, solving running will help biomechanics for other things. And then someone introduced me to functional patterns, saying this guy talks about running as the foundation, and I was like, that makes sense to me. Let me look deeper. Then I watched his videos talking about CrossFit and yoga and bilateral movement rather than unilateral stuff. And a lot of it made sense to me. I I'd signed up to do a yoga course to be a yoga teacher because I really liked yoga. He made me see it a bit differently, but I cancelled the course to do the yoga teacher training, and I went and found a human foundations course in Belgium, and I did it, and I loved it. I've had a coach in Wolves and a coach in Bristol that are good coaches. And in the sessions, it was hard work. You're breaking down your ego, you're addressing your dysfunctions, and I'd always come out of it a bit beaten up, but I'd always feel a bit better, like I'd done some good work, I'd worked in my weaknesses. But it would never last. It would never last outside of the few days around the session. And then I started something called the formula, because I thought functional patterns is working when I'm doing it. I want to do 3 sessions a week, eat the carnivore diet, because it's completely like you're not inflaming your body. So all the inflammation's reduced, but the proteins give me fuel to train. Do cold water immersion, Wim Hof breathing, all this stuff as well. And what if I put these things together with the functional patterns and other stuff? I didn't think anyone had done this before, the Wim Hof with them. And so I made the formula. He heard about it and then banned me, basically, because he said, what I created, not enough for you guys, but not enough for you. No one's ever thought to put diet with this practice before. And I was doing magic mushrooms as well. So like microdosing mushrooms. Yeah. Because you can get deeper into the body when you're training with it.
Yeah, you can reprogram the subconscious more easily that way.
So I put all these things in together, the formula, and the FP was like the pinnacle for me of like biomechanical posture correction, which humans overlook. In the healing world, people want crystals and candles and incense and breath work, and they overlook like the physical correction of posture, and it all has to come in together. So
right, yeah,
that was it. Anyway, he heard about it, didn't like me doing it, banned me. I said, let me come to Hawaii and speak to you in person and like, have a conversation. He said, if you come to Hawaii, I'll call the police on you. And he didn't see me and my position on it. He thought I was like a threat, a manipulative. Like, yeah, he called me some very rude things.
Yeah. Me too. He banned me as well. I know the nonsense, but it's his path. It's his way of life.
It's his issues, man. It says nothing about me, but he projected it tells me so much about someone else's perspective on life, the way they see me. Because I know I was coming into this with pure intentions to help. Like I said to him, and I said, I'm just a human that loves having a human body, that loves a human body and want to function as like and enjoy the body. And he laughed at that. He thought that was ridiculous that I'd say I'm a human that loves having a body, and thought he thought I was just a bullshit artist. He saw what I did with veganism and thought like I came in and I think he'd watched some vegans. There's some very mean videos that vegans made about me when I left veganism, because they were bitter. And I think he'd seen some videos about me from them and maybe took that as who I am as a person, rather than speaking to me like man to man. Naudi, let's talk. I want to help functional patterns go far as much as you want to let me help. But he doesn't like, I'll be projecting on him maybe, but it doesn't seem like he liked anyone coming in that could be bigger than functional patterns or that could take it beyond. He wants to stay.
And I think that's one of the big fouls of a community like that, is that his vision is also narrowing to his community, because what does it tell about his community always saying, doing this? Yes, sir, of course.
Understood.
Instead of, clashes are meant to be there so we can grow. We need stress. We also need this kind of stress. And if you can't allow that certain stress because you're holding on to your projections so deeply, there must be a greater way and a greater idea of the universe, why it's going on like this.
For me, if it was the truth and it was natural, it would be free. It would be maybe not free, but it would be accessible, and it wouldn't be. He's trying to control it so much rather than let it fly, And for me, I just don't think the solutions are that complicated. Like, I just don't think it has to be as complicated as FP is. FP is very complex. And I think that's where I think it's been overcomplicated. And that led me to Weckmethod, which on the surface doesn't look like anywhere near, like to the logical mind looking at both of them, you can easily disregard Weckmethod and think FP is the one because it appeals to the logical mind. But in the practice of them, it's a very different game.
Yeah, I would, man. I always dreamed of people like Naudi sitting down with someone like Paul Chek, and then figuring out, okay, how can we improve FP? How can we improve the Chek Institute together?
Yeah, I wanted them to work. I thought about that as well, because I think they've talked and they know each other. And Naudi has given credit to people like Kelly Starrett, and he has given credit out to certain people. So I don't know how he came. Like, he came up with FP, but at the same time, nothing is really generated and created from nothing. It looks to me like it's a combination of Paul Chek's primal patterns with some of Doug ultimate exercise with the slow 10 seconds in, 10 seconds out. Mixed, there's a few things combined to make the ingredients of PIT, mixed with locomotion as the gateway, like Usain Bolt style running.
Yeah.
To do it, but
did you also did lots of chambers when you were working with your? All right. Well, the thing is that in my experience, when you're doing something like that, man, you immediately feel the difference. And I one of the things that I noticed that the injuries that I still contain are a left knee injury, or maybe it's not the injury itself anymore. It's just a weak spot in the link.
Yeah.
And my left shoulder. And I noticed that I couldn't get the shoulder, or we couldn't get the shoulder properly during those sessions and after as well. But then I found a family constellation.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I've done it before, yeah.
Well, that freed up my shoulder injury. Suddenly I noticed it, or therapy made me understand that I was carrying a trauma from my father and from my mother, out of love for the family. And when I walked out of that 2.5 hour session, I was completely empty and my shoulder didn't hurt anymore. I was like, holy shit, man.
That's amazing. That's probably, Naudi would probably reject like family constellation work as some woo-woo bullshit. But I don't know. Yeah, he's got so much potential if he was to just soften a little bit. But he attacked parkour. He attacks yoga without the understanding. Anyway, it is what it is. But it led me. What the beauty of it is, I was really attached to him and his teachings.
Yeah,
and I did the chambers, and I felt moments like for days afterwards. I felt like really shifts in my body, but they never lasted. Like you can't. What in my head FP was missing was, because you're doing 3 to 5 slow repetitions. To program something into the body, you need like thousands of good repetitions, like thousands of positive repetitions, and that's what Weckmethod gives you with the rope and some of the other the pulses, is thousands of repetitions that are what remapping the way you move in your body.
Well, I know that Gene, he's a friend of mine. He's the FP practitioner, and he also says, man, we have to consciously reprogram your subconscious by just keep going, keep burning, keep doing chambers until it becomes a new normal.
That's an expensive and an absolutely draining route.
It is, yeah.
It could be swept from under you at any moment. Right.
Yeah, that's also one of the things that I think that it's very important, because you can, when your posture becomes better, when your biomechanics, when you're running, when your gait becomes better, you start to feel better. But still, if your mind is the strongest thing of your whole being, if you don't feel like it, your mind can decide, hey, you're going to shoot yourself through the head
if you don't move the mind with the body. Yeah.
So I think, do you have a certain pattern when somebody comes to you and asks, Tim, I'm feeling this way. This is what I tried. What is your logical step of health? Where do you go from A to B in health?
I mean, it's nutrition is, in so many different practices, is one of the foundational elements, right? If you're eating processed food with refined sugars, and Paul said it in one of his videos, if you're eating refined sugars, you can't correct the spine.
Yeah.
So you can be doing all the FP work you want, but if you're eating refined sugars and you're not doing the nutritional work, your body's going to stay inflamed. It's going to fight you. It's going to hold the position, which is why I put diet as part of the formula. But I would say diet, for honestly, the rope from Weckmethod, what the rope does on it as a it's a therapy in itself. It's to be paired with breath work on a level, because there's some therapy in learning to move your left and right hand perfectly in sync. You're doing right-handed dexterous work over here, left-handed work over here. You're crossing your center line. Your left and right hemispheres are balancing.
Yeah.
It calms your mood. It's low impact. It's energy building rather than energy taking. For me now, that's like a staple in any healing cabinet, along with probably breath work. Although I'm not so versed in it, but when I do it, I feel the power of it. And also medicinal mushrooms, you can do from all the way from psychedelic to like lion's mane and reishi are truly powerful, like Tibetan medicine.
Mm. And how would you define health? What is your definition of health?
I think happiness. I think happiness can lead to health, and health can lead to happiness. I think what someone said, children laugh 300 times a day. So I think the closer you are to that, adults laugh 3 times a day or something. The closer you are to that, the healthier you are, I think. Being able to do, because just being, if you were to just being able to compete as a top level CrossFitter or something like that, which is a very strenuous sport or capacity games, you know, it is not an expression of health, because you get like Paul Chek calls them fit sick people. When you're driven, and Naudi's right about a lot of people in terms of like competitively driven. If you're purely competitively driven, I think there's something unhealthy in that. If you're trying to prove a point by winning, you know.
Yeah. I think if you're doing that, then I mean, love is complete compassion for what is. It's wholeness. That's love. That's pure love. Mm-hmm. If you don't feel pure love inside, there is always something that you have to fulfill. You have to validate for somebody else or for yourself or indirectly. And I think that's where competition comes from. That's also one of the things that I noticed when I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I learned lately that my father was a very dominant man, and he always was very competitive. And I think I noticed that I started to develop injuries because I didn't want to compete with him. And in family, I think it's in Greek mythology, you call it the Oedipus complex. Yeah. It's where your mom, father have a child, and the child, if it's a guy, is a boy, then the mother gives more love towards the son. Then Papa gets angry and starts competing for the love with Mama. And
yes, I've read a book called like family seduction or something. Yeah, where it's deep. That's really deep trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are so many levels of knowledge that so many people don't have a clue about. Yeah. But all right, health is. But how would you say? Don't you think health is more about energy? I mean, in nature, if you don't contain enough energy to be and to live on, I mean, it's the weakest is the organism that's fucked.
Yeah, I know it is all about energy, and then for me, I'm only new to studying more Tibetan style medicine, but in those kind of systems, you have 3 energy systems. I think it's Shen, Qi, and Jing, or something like that. And there's kind of like a movement energy, a spiritual energy, and then maybe like an emotional energy. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but it makes sense to me that there are different energy systems, you know, and you can only sort of access the spiritual energy when the other 2 are topped up. And I feel that as well. Like when I feel balanced energetically, I can spiritually, I feel more aware and more centered. So yeah, definitely about energy, but that comes, there's an old, I don't know if it's Indian or something, Native American, where they're like, when they go to the healer and they say, when did you stop singing and when did you stop dancing?
Yeah. I know Paul keeps banging that one out.
Yeah. And I think he's right. I think that those are signs of health and those are signs of energy.
Absolutely.
I notice if I overtrain and I'm fatigued, I make worse food choices because I'm drained and I've got less energy to make the right choices. And so it's like, there's so much I think we do we live in a society where there's so much competition and games and sports that we're like on this mindset of training and all the time, and it can drain us, and then it takes all that energy.
Absolutely. Hey, to get back to the Weck method, I mean, I watched the rope and I watched all the videos that you made with Uncle Weck.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. He seems like an awesome guy.
He's awesome, man. I love him. It takes a certain level of like, you have to be a bit weird yourself to kind of get him. But if you're open enough and you don't judge him for who he is and you just take on board, it starts to make more and more sense, I think.
Yeah. Well, you have weird red glasses and you fast for 35 days and you drink your own piss, so you're weird enough.
That's what I mean. It took someone as weird as me to get him to be able to translate him to the next set of weird.
Yeah,
people.
Absolutely. For the bigger masses.
Yeah, that's the game I'm playing. Yeah.
But I mean, what is the thing that you? I noticed you work in eights, you work in spirals, and also a funny thing is that I'm reading the book of Joe Dispenza where he explains that the brain also. I also do photography and videography, and you have this golden circle, which also is in the brain, and it ends at the
pineal.
Yeah, the pineal gland, and that's the patterns everywhere in life. It's everywhere, spirals everywhere, and how could you tell a bit more about that and the Weck method?
Sure, yeah. So when I got banned from FP, I was looking for any other practices out there that were asking the right questions. And someone mentioned, have you seen this Uncle Weck guy? He seems a bit crazy, but there's something to it. He invented the 𝙀𝙎𝙎 ball, and I thought, let me check him out. And I watched it, and I could just see there was like an energy about his inventing, what he was inventing. And I saw that they had these pulsar things, these little handshakers to help you running, and the rope. And I went to buy some pulsars, but there were too much shipping, and I thought I'll leave that. I didn't get the rope, but I ended up, because I couldn't do my HBS1 functional patterns course, which I wanted to do in Hawaii. I said, let me put that money towards Weckmethod and let's try this. This is the other one out there. So I went to San Diego and did Weckmethod training last October. And when I first got the rope, I never understood it. Seeing someone do the rope, you don't get it. But when it was explained to me and I held it in my hands, and when you're connecting, you're completing the circuit of your left and your right side, like energetically, these two don't talk. We're so discoordinated that we run, but the timing, our left might have a bad shoulder, so the timing's slightly off, or it's a bit stiffer. Yeah. When you complete the circuit that way round and you roll the rope, you don't jump over it, but when you jump over it, your hands go down and your feet come up, so you're compressing the body. But when you roll it, you rise as it rises and you go down as it goes down, and your left and right are talking to each other perfectly. Because if you're not perfect, the rope will slap you. Like the rope comes down, the angle is off. So if you don't know how to move coordinated with the rope teaches you to move more coordinated. So you do that, quickly accumulate thousands of repetitions of this rolling the rope. There's 4 main patterns that you learn to do. And you just play with these patterns over and over.
Are you looking for any supplements to boost your health? Because you want to restore, maintain, or achieve optimal health? Our friends at Ergomax from the Netherlands got you covered. From deuterium depleted water, enzymes and probiotics to magnesium and vitamin C. It is your one-stop shop for supplements. I know the owners, and I know they care about quality, and they themselves are an example of healthy human beings. And 3 of my previous guest experts are very happy with their products. They use them personal and for their patients as well. I'm talking about mitochondrial expert Thomas van Doorn, clinical psycho-neuroimmunologist Ruud Elvers, and biological dentist Mirlon van Ravenstein. If they would not approve, I would not be sharing Ergomax. Thomas, Ruud and Mirlon helped me big time achieving a more optimal form of health in my life. So let me help you helping yourself. Get your supplements at Ergomax and feel free to send me your experience with their products. You'll find the link in the description and the show notes. Now, back to the episode.
And you notice so many things. You just feel your mood feels better. It's like I say, it's low impact. It's energy building rather than taking. Yeah. It's meditative. It's a workout as well. You feel these muscles start to switch on because we're working. When you run the way Americans are taught to run, shoulders stay flat and you swing your arms.
Yeah, like Lego blocks.
Like Lego blocks. Right?
I listened to the latest podcast you did.
So
Human Experience.
If you don't mind, I'll just say some of the same things from
Sure.
that again. But we never work at end range. We can deadlift and we can whatever press or press up, but we're never going to, we have a really good ability to like sink on one side. That's for a reason. Otherwise our spine wouldn't allow us this flexion.
Yeah.
So the more we move with our shoulders up and down on this figure 8 path, I can use gravity with this shoulder to lift this one. And I can turn the energy with rotation to move me forward. So then I'm moving, rather than using purely muscles to drive me forwards and staying square, I can use gravity and, as Weck calls it, verticalization. You use height to drop down the same way a cat, when it's angry, it lifts its spine up so that it's got height to then move from, to attack or to go backwards. You set. So when we roll the rope, it teaches us these pathways that exist, but it takes us, we need a tool like a rope to teach us where they are. Once we start to find them, we start to engage our obliques and our lower lats at these end ranges. We start to feel a whole new strength appear, and our spine then works like this purring engine as we move and run. And then those patterns are also in everything else that's functional.
But are you not afraid that let's say, one of my things that I still have is that I'm over retracting my left scap and my rhomboid, which makes I got a big amount of trigger points over there, but I know that I'm going to be able to fix it when I'm going in balls deep into the chamber stuff. I'm going to do that for a longer period of time.
So here's the difference. With FP, you're so focused on where the problem is and correcting that problem whereas Weckmethod is more, let's not focus on what's not working. Let's just do something like that is good pattern, and it attenuates perfection over time. It feels like, and I'm only 6 months in, but I'm noticing these changes where it's just melting the dysfunctions, and I'm not focused on the dysfunctions because I'm just doing something positive over and over, that it's getting smoother and smoother, because I don't need to. Here's the beauty of it with Weckmethod. It's not about applying the brain. It's about letting the body do it until it finds the better method.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question I have when I'm looking to something like that. It's like it looks like you're letting nature doing more of the healing than that this is doing the healing.
Exactly, and as I say, it's positive and mood building and enjoyable. Which if you're doing something that you're enjoying, your body's going to relax a bit more. And my shoulder, I had my scapular wings as well on both sides. But I'm noticing, like in the last few weeks, I'm getting way more range of motion than I've ever had on this side. And my sequencing and timing is just getting better. So there's like I say, I'm 6 months in. There's one guy who's 2 years into it. Like, it's a new practice. And if you Savage Protocols on Instagram, and he moves phenomenally, and he moves incredibly connected. He moves with the principles, and when you understand movement, you start to be able to see it. What also happens with the rope that I find fascinating is the rope helps you. I can analyze gaits way better now because of the rope and the practices that I'm doing, because it's taught me to see how someone's using the energy in their body to move, whether it's muscle or whether it's like this pulse motion with the figure of 8s, and I can see it in runners and sprinters and everything.
Yeah. And what is the stuff that you use for the heels? Because I thought it was a very fundamental thing. And then I also started noticing that when you land your feet, that let's say this is the big toe. Yeah. You go a bit more outwards than straight forward.
Yeah. The green dot is so in the body are these spiral energy systems. There's a physical spiral, like your forearm wraps around your bone, your tricep comes down like here. It's the same in the body,
right?
So when we start to put rotational intention into movements, we maximize the use of the muscles and the way they were designed to use. If you're not using rotational movement, there's slack in the system. The muscle's not hitting end range, and therefore, in my opinion, the fascia gets tight to protect it from not using it to the maximum potential. So the green dot, which is like the fourth metatarsal on the foot, is the end of the spiral that comes round from the shoulder, comes back and down, the hip comes forward, that you internally rotate in the leg, and you see all the top sprinters off the line. their feet really drive out, heels drive away, and they're internally rotated with their knees as they accelerate up to full speed. And then even when they're sprinting, there's a slight, and Naudi teaches as well, internal rotation, and then they swing through to external. I think they're only external on the other side, but it's the same with their arm. That we see some of the top FP guys, their hands doing this figure of 8 motion as they drive.
Yeah.
Right. And it's head over foot. If you run and you put your head over your foot and you drive forwards with the weight of your head, it's such a heavy part of our body, directly over the foot that's pushing forwards, that's going to be way more of a forwards motion than if the head's in the center and we're pushing forwards, because that big weight is going to ping around side to side. And I think FP teach head over foot now anyway, if you get to that kind of level. But there's so many different things. But yeah, so that's the part of the foot you want to get. But the only problem with that is if you just focus solely on where I put my foot, that should be a byproduct of the work happening up top. And the hips and the shoulders or what do the work, and then the limbs coming off them are a product of positive movement with the hips and the shoulders. So I think it's more important to focus on hips and shoulders than it is to focus on foot positioning.
Yeah. All right. And what are the most positive things and and maybe some negative things that you experienced by doing this method?
Man, it changed my life, man. Like it's exciting because it's taught me so much about the body, and it's like Da Vinci did amazing paintings of the body and like sketches, and like was fascinated with the body and would cut up cadavers and study.
Yeah, man, I watched the documentary. He was working in the basement all year, cutting cadavers.
Yeah, he's got nothing on this shit. Like,
no.
I love Da Vinci. We're still alive and we're studying the body in motion, and this is like leading edge right now because no one else, whether it's FP, Weckmethod, Strongfit is another one that I mentioned in the podcast who does the strongman training done well. This is all leading edge of biomechanics, of fitness industry. Fitness industry isn't even got a sniff on this stuff yet.
No. That's true.
And this is the work that needs, for anyone that talks about healing and wants to do all the herbs in the world, you need a physical practice. You can't just do that stuff. You're a human with a body in a 3D world. When you were a child, you played with your body, you enjoyed running, you enjoyed sport. At some point, maybe you weren't the best and you gave up hope. It's not the competitive element of sport has ruined it for everyone in many senses. But just being able to play with the body is what it's about. It's about.
Yeah, I think it's like life goes nowhere. And by setting up a competition, there is an end goal, but life doesn't go anywhere. The game is the game, so it has to flow. It has to continue all time.
Yeah.
So when you move, you should be able to move whenever you want. At a very high intensity or a very low intensity. It doesn't matter because that's life. You have to be ready all the time. And that's, I mean, yeah.
Like dogs. I look at dogs and all dogs, they don't speak to each other in language. They bark or whatever. But when dogs meet other dogs, they both know the game. And they both know, you get some overly aggressive dogs that have got, in my eyes, it's their owner's fault. But most dogs that are friendly dogs, they'll play and they'll attack each other, but friendly enough that they never overstep the line, and then they'll run their other way. Yeah. And that's how it could be. Like, if I'm out for a jog, there's nothing I like more than running with my friends, alongside them, not racing them, but running along terrain with them. There's a beautiful, like as a pack of humans running, not as a race, me versus you, who's the fastest, as a running together. That's such a beautiful feeling for any human, but for animals as well. They like to do it. And I think so many humans miss out on that because if you're training and you get training camaraderie, but even within training, you're training for competition. You want to see who's the fastest in your tribe. But as there's not enough people that run together as friends, I think that make it competitive. And once you get into the practices, the methods that we're looking at, you realize locomotion and running is the ultimate expression of human functionality. And it's the ultimate, and it's one of the greatest joys of being human if you can do it well without injury.
So how is your sprint this day?
It's a lot less injured than it was, but there's still plenty of work to do. I know my current work now is like my lower stomach below my belly button and my lower back. I had a breathwork session yesterday morning, and he was seeing me, and he was seeing that when I breathe from my belly, I don't breathe below my belly button. And when I do that, I can feel how tight it is on my lower back when I tried to breathe that deeply. And I don't know whether that's like emotional trauma that's blocked me or injury or something. And I know that links to my hip. All my upper body is feeling very strong and smooth. And from the rope, I've got muscles firing that make, I can drive really hard with the upper body. I can still run fast and a lot less injured than I've ever been. But I know that there's still blocks in my hip flexors, in my lower back, glutes that aren't firing right. But so what I'm doing now is kind of a leaf out of Paul Chek's book in the sense I call it like baby play, where I'll lie on my back and I'll like play around with my legs and I'll drive my lower back in, then I'll roll onto my stomach and I'll lift my chest and just, we build our strength to be teenagers or young children from the baby years. And Paul Chek does that. I don't know if you in his book Eat, Move and Be Healthy, and he recovered lots of athletes because he took them back to how do you crawl? And if they crawl, if you look at the crawling mechanics, that's like a prerequisite to running mechanics, right? So if they're crawling and some hips out of line, then you fix it in these earlier stages of movement where we built the strength for the next stage. So I'm doing a lot of play where I'm just like on my back doing core. It seems like core work, but just messing around like a baby would, squirming and rolling on my stomach and trying to activate and fatigue and see if sometimes I get some shakes and I get some tears come out from these positions. So I'm just, there's something there that I'm trying to dive deep into.
And is there any other thing that you use to dive into your mind and to blockages and that all right, I think there's an emotion that is stuck over here?
Yeah, I know that there's that stuff exists. I play with mushrooms. I was doing microdoses. I did a sort of more medium dose the other day, and that helps. I don't know how much I'd want to rely on one thing as only the way. I think we should be able to access it without anything. I think God's programmed it within us to do it. And sometimes there's one thing I've been doing more lately than I've ever done in my life. And it's if I feel emotions, I don't like to call them negative emotions, but I feel sad, I guess, or like down. I try to just sit in that emotion.
Yeah, just cooking it.
Cooking it's a good way to put it. And I'll just sit on the bed. I'll lie on the bed. I won't want to get up. I won't allow myself distractions of because we go to distractions, food, phones, like the main two. Food, phones, friends, video games, whatever we do. I don't play that, but so now I've come to this like, let me try and sit in the emotions more, and I'll feel low and I'll feel the hum. The hum will start to get stronger in my chest, and after a few hours, I'll be like, right, I'm ready, and I'll get up and go, and I'll have a great day after that. The emotions will, and I feel, when you're a child, and if you can remember, it's nostalgic, but when you used to cry hard and there was that like feeling of like warmth after you'd finished crying, that was like relief. And so how much of the time from our teenage years that we've got these blocked emotions that we distracted, that we didn't want to appear weak, that are trapped in us. And so it's going to take some work, but I think it's when the law of attraction works in the sense that we have relationships that play out over and over until we change the way we respond to that relationship, right? Like certain people come into our lives that are similar from another because we didn't react, right? So the law of attraction is bringing these scenarios into our life to make us feel certain emotions because we've not felt them to release them.
Yeah, right. So, and then you can get the similar waves, they bounce towards each other and they lift each other up. So the energy can run freely and flow.
When you feel it, when you allow it to happen and wash over you. But we've got habits of distraction. So I trust the law of attraction is bringing me to these emotions to then sit in the emotions to release them.
All right. And are you familiar with TRE?
Is that the trauma release? Is that tapping or is that shaking?
No, it's not tapping. The tapping part is from Dawson Church. As far as I know, the eco meditation, I read Mind to Matter when Paul Chek had Dawson Church on his podcast. Mm-hmm. That also gave me some emotional freedom, but that had more to do with self-love. But TRE is a very nice thing that I found a couple of years ago. It's from David Berceli, who's I think a psychologist or psychiatrist who worked in war zones. And they found that every time there were shootings and grenades and explosions, that they will crawl up and started shivering from stress. And then they noticed after 30 minutes, the shivering would went away and the stress would go down. And then they said, all right, what is exactly happening here? And they found out that mammals have a natural system of de-stressing the nervous system by shivering, where the shiver goes, or the vibration goes towards the muscle, the fascia, the organ, where the tension is stored. It shakes, and then it flows again, and the emotion gets to come out. Okay. So when you for instance, have to go when you're winning the lottery, he explains to me, or when you after a fight, or you going into a fight, or there is a fight, everybody can feel the tension. You immediately start de-stressing and deloading yourself. And we, as a human species, we learn that it's not socially accepted to let out emotions in certain environments. So then we say, right, let's keep it to ourselves. But what you exactly do is, well, I can drop the camera, then I can just show it. 1 second. Yeah. All right. Well, let me get this out of the way. So what you do is,
I'm excited to try this.
What you do is you lie down like this, so your iliopsoas is getting like tension. Like back in the days when you were at school, you would get your feet up under the desk, and it started doing this.
Yeah, I know people do that. Yeah.
I used to do it as well. But so you do it like this. You keep it like this, and after a while, it starts shivering. And this is the mechanism that you can activate the tremor mechanism. So now my iliopsoas is getting the tension. The shivering process is starting.
Yeah.
And this tension will go from the iliopsoas to the ribs, the shoulder, whatever part you stored and blocked your emotions. Yeah. And after a while, those emotions, they're going to come out, and you will cry like a baby. You will laugh. You will shout. Whatever is inside of you, it will come out. And it's a very, very useful way to, they also use it very, very much with war veterans who are not able to speak about their emotions.
Yeah.
But the body remembers everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have to reposition the camera again.
That's all right. Bro, that sounds good. So is there videos on YouTube? But essentially I put my feet together and let the vibration start to come.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so incredibly simple. And this is also one of the things that I really like, is that it's nature. You let nature do its thing.
So I used to go to football matches with my dad, and I used to notice my leg would shake. And it got to a point when I stopped doing it. And then when I see others doing it, I think they're like anxious and they're not in control. And I stopped myself doing it. But you're right, nature's trying to take its course, but I'm consciously making an effort to stop it, but I should allow it to happen, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating, bro. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I made an item about it. It's on my channel, and I also had an interview with David, and then he explains the more theoretical part. I also have a video of myself where I'm crying on the internet.
Yeah.
Whereas out of nothing, when I've done it so much, and I can only think about my shoulder, and it already starts de-stressing.
Yeah.
But it got into a very high where my breath went up, and I started to cry. And I thought, all right, fuck it, let's go.
Good, yeah.
I'm going with the flow.
Yeah.
And David saw the video, and he was like, holy fuck, man. I want to comment on that. And he took the video, and he made like a PowerPoint stuff of it with old man animations, explaining what is happening in the limbic brain, coming to the prefrontal cortex. So you put it into your consciousness, and then you can deal with it. Then it comes out. Yeah. And then the body is retensioning itself. And voila.
Humans evolved to live outdoors with exposure to natural light from the sun. As such, your cells prioritize using certain wavelengths of light to make energy. Modern indoor lighting does not have the full spectrum of light you will get from the sun, which is where red light therapy comes into the equation. Harnessing the benefits of red and near-infrared light. Red light therapy is scientifically proven to improve muscle endurance, muscle recovery, sleep, circadian rhythm, inflammation, skin complexion, and much more. Multiple of the previous health experts I had on Injured Dumbass use it themselves and use it for their patients. And they all buy from Mitochondria. So get your Flickr EMF-free infrared light panels with a 15% discount using the code ID15. I repeat, ID15.
you're out of tension. But then of course comes the other part is you behave, you get sick or something in a certain environment. So you are a result of your environment. And if you keep going back into the old environment, you're constantly stressing the same stuff again into your body, and you will react the same way unless you are aware.
Wow. I'm going to play with that for sure. I'll check your video on it. And is David's video on his YouTube, or it's more for presentation?
Well, there's a very good. I made a very long video about it, where I took a part of the one of the most epic videos on this topic, where is a TRE practitioner explaining this for 45 minutes. It's like an online webinar, and the teacher also shows you with a person laying down on the ground and experiencing the stuff, and then he explains, all right, if you position your head like this, the tension can go to the face. Your face also stores emotions. So there's very nice.
There's different angles to target different areas.
Yes, and I'm not a TRE practitioner myself. I'm just very experienced doing it myself.
Yeah,
and letting friends do it. One of my friends, when I was working on a marketing event, shooting video, he went through his back, and he cramped up so badly he couldn't move anymore. And I let him do TRE, and after 30 minutes, he was able to walk again. Because the cramps, of course, they protect the nerve, the system. But
So let's go into that, because I've been purposely setting off cramps lately, because it feels like the muscles, it's like the fascia's tight, the cramp like it feels like it reawakens the muscle. What do you think cramp is then? What is your?
Well, I think there are many contexts, but I think a cramp also is if I look at it from a TRE perspective, it is an how do you call that? An attempt to flow energy through.
Yes, that's what it feels like. Yeah,
that's what it feels to me. And I think a cramp, of course, when you're sore as fuck and your body is completely sour, or how do you call that? Sour? Sore?
Sore, yeah. Sore.
Yeah, there's too much lactate, and the pH level is here instead of alkaline.
That's one reason, but sometimes it feels like I've done like medicines, and I was able to make muscles cramp, and I let it happen. I go into it. I tense it even more, and then eventually it lets go itself, and it feels like it pulses again, and it like releases something.
I think it is also, you can think about it like yin and yang. It's like heat, cold, life, death, cramp, relax. So that's also one of the things that 𝙎𝙬𝙎𝙬 explains in bioenergetics is when
I've done bioenergetics.
Yeah, me too. When you're putting your finger up in your throat, then and then you have to relax again. So but to be honest, I have a couple of friends who are very much into light, water, and magnetism.
Yeah,
one of them is a student of Dr. Jack Kruse.
Okay,
Man, he's a machine. And the other guy, Ruud Elvers, we compare him with like the Dutch Paul Chek.
Yeah,
he's ripped like a mofo at 66.
Yeah. So the light, water, and magnetism. Light is like the blue light blockers, like don't have too much light radiation and all this stuff. Water is good quality water. What's magnetism then?
Well, magnetism, eventually light is vibration. We are all light. Everything in this universe is light, and we contain star DNA. We contain banana DNA. We are the universe experiencing the universe itself.
Yes, fractal. Yeah.
And magnetism, I think, as far as I know, maybe it's cool to get Thomas to hang out with us to get a bit more deeply in, because this guy is so incredibly knowledgeable. He's like, Paul Chek is like, he knows so much about so many things. Yeah. Thomas is more on the light, water, magnetism part, but also has a deep interest in Rudolf Steiner. And lately we did Choco Bliss. That's ayahuasca with Peruvian cacao.
Yeah, cool.
But magnetism, well,
are you using magnets to like heal you or something? What is it?
No, it's more like, the sunlight is also a form of magnetism. And your DNA functions optimal when it is in the right environment. You can't get a polar bear and put it in a tropical environment. Say, here, have a nice life. The DNA isn't evolved to live in a magnetism environment like that, because the temperature is other and
okay.
Well, and that
You
also
said
has,
it being in your true environment, like
that has a big part of doing with that. And I know when you focus on the mitochondria, they produce energy for your cells, and if it doesn't have enough energy production, it cannot send signals to other cells, so they can't work together anymore, and then they blow up. And that's where you see
the red light. This is like the red light therapy walls. That's to help feed the mitochondria.
Yes, they very much help the mitochondria. And in sunlight on its own, it contains, I think, 42% infrared light all day, except in the morning and in the evening. Then there's there's much more. But they cure insane diseases with using light water magnetism protocols. And also, it's also very interesting is them talking about food. One of the things that Thomas always says is, you have to food that matches your DNA and environment. I mean, you don't eat a banana in the winter.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow. And the banana contains information from the soil in light information. And when it opens up in your intestines, it radiates magnetism, light information, and your organical clock is running on the information that you're eating.
What the fuck is happening here?
Yeah. So it's if you are not getting out with your bare feet on the ground, watching the sun set, the sun coming up, and eating your environment, then your biological clock, your circadian rhythm is fucked up to the max, and all your organs work on biological clocks. Yeah. So by just focusing on light, water, and magnetism, you say, all right, food is food, but food, there is a deeper layer in food that's light. And that is magnetism. So they think of that instead of you should be focusing on food, and I think that's as far as I can come.
That's great. It's basically like local organic produce.
Yeah.
Be out in the sunlight, eat with your circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
with it. Yeah. Nice.
So how is to get a bit more back to you? Yeah. What are the let's say, what are the most proudest things you experienced in life? Because you've done a very, 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 very many things. And how old are you?
I'm 32.
32, all right.
Yeah, born in 88. Proudest thing, man. Like you said, being things like you're in therapy and being public about it, for me, that's because I know the stigma attached to it. And to fame, I've won world championships, done Ninja Warrior. That stuff doesn't make me like proud necessarily. They're nice, it's okay, but it's the other stuff that's the challenge. Like when I stopped being vegan and I came out public, like I went on TV shows saying I think it's dangerous for people to be vegan because I genuinely, my experience of it as a human who's I'm a full-time like experimenter basically. Like there are people that can have opinions, but they're not really listening to their bodies or whatever. Like, my experience is a valid experience that I wanted to share in a movement that was growing so fast. Things like that I'm proud of because it's like and just the sad thing was to people like Naudi who I looked up to, they saw that as attention seeking, They saw
and you're just trying to help yourself in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, completely. And that's just the path we're on, and that's okay. But I know my intentions and I know the challenge that it took to do that. So it's things like that I'm proud of, man. And I'm there's not too much. I'm not like sitting in pride of anything really. Like I'm just a human and I'm going through life. But the more I'm just true to myself, the more experiences like, meeting Weck and being close with him and seeing like how when I share some of his stuff, how misunderstood people are to him. And yet he's such a lovely human who's really, I really think he's onto something, some big.
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the things that can bother me is that I think Paul Jack really puts it nicely when you say, all right, when you're repeating somebody else's words, and then you say you understand it. It's the same thing looking to somebody behaving in a certain way and immediately saying, all right, this is it, instead of experiencing it and then forming your judgment and passing it on into the world.
The map is not the path. Like the map itself is not the terrain, it's just a map. Yeah. But going on the terrain is the experience.
Yeah. And what is, where do you exactly live in the UK?
So I moved to Bristol, I lived in London for years. I also grew up in Derby, Derby's like a quiet country town, city. London's crazy, hectic playground. I like to be close to nature, but also have some city advantages as well.
Yeah, right.
Bristol is the best of both worlds. It's forward thinking, loads of organic shops, but there's also countryside. And there's the ocean is 30 minutes away. So
nice.
Ocean air. Air quality is something, when I did all my fasting and I was reading all the books, they said air quality is more important than the food you eat. And it's been so interesting with the coronavirus, the amount of chemtrails that have all stopped and everything, and the air quality has gone up. But just moving by the sea was an intention so that my air quality could be better.
Yeah, I think that's also a part of the magnetism part that pops up is when you go to a place like Yucatan. There was a meteor that hit the ground and bursted open the soil of the earth, which increased the vibration of the magnetism in that area.
Wow.
When you have insane forms of cancer and this and that and all the worst shit you have in life, go to Yucatan.
It's healing, or it makes it worse?
It is healing as fuck. Dr. Jack Kruse says I think there was a woman who had like this stuff that the guy in Better Call Saul has. I think it's his brother.
Yeah.
Like he cannot endure magnetism or non-native EMF.
Yeah.
And there was
I've heard of that. People that have that. Yeah.
And there was this woman in the UK. I think she lived in London, and she was dealing with insane migraines and all sorts of cramps, and she endured that for I think more than 15 years. She saw all doctors, and then Dr. Jack Kruse said, all right, let's fix you. Let's bring you back to where the field of nature is supposed to be for your DNA, and get you out of all the fucked up non-native EMF. So he brought him to the jungle and somewhere in America. The Mediterranean over there, and I think she cured from her disease in less than 2 weeks. Wow. And that kind of story, if you understand light, you understand life. Life is light. We are all light particles.
Yeah.
And I'm just digging a bit deeper in that stuff now, but. At the same time,
I think you're on the right path. Yeah.
I think it's also, but at the same time, I prefer to speak to people like a Dr. Jack Kruse or a Paul Chek or a Ruud Elvers or Thomas van Doorn who know their shit and they're so completely into that shit. And also one of the things that I noticed is the Kruger effect. The more you learn, the more you understand you know nothing.
Always. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, man. That was the whole lesson with the vegan thing and a lot of other things is like the more you become certain on an opinion, the more you can be like I was so sold on that stuff and really believed it with all my heart and thought it was intuitive, and it turns out it wasn't intuitive, and my intuition, like what I thought was intuition, wasn't intuition, and there was ego involved, and so it's all the breaking down process. But I think the more you are closer to your true self and healed and whole, the more your bullshit meter goes off and you're able to decipher, right? And you can use simple things that it's not perfect, but if I look at a human and they're giving an opinion, or it's like, how happy is this person? How healthy are they? And how balanced do they seem? And if you look at those three as like a gauge for whether you're going to take this person's opinion and give it more value or not, I think it's a good gauge. And you look at someone like Wim Hof, who's happy, healthy, and he's pretty balanced, although everyone's a little crazy, but he's honest about his traumas and his history, right? Yeah. He's an open, honest person. And, like Russell Brand or Paul Chek are pretty healthy, happy people. And it's like, we've got to go to them. But then I think of someone like Weck, who maybe not seen as balanced or happy necessarily. But I think, it's a weird one, but I use it as a barometer. You just have to look at the person and see how balanced they are for like a gauge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also one of the things that I really started noticing is that, are we listening to people who are health themselves?
Yes, exactly.
Are we going to a physiotherapist who is running like a mofo, who is feeling free, and are we listening to people who are they say they do instead of repeating some shit? I mean, I have some friends who are physiotherapists, with kyphosis, duck feed like crazy. But I know they're good people, and I know they have the great intent, but they still haven't learned how to heal themselves. So that's like, how can you heal somebody else if you can't fix yourself?
That's the ultimate journey, isn't it? I think we can learn so much if we focus on our own shit and focus on our own healing and our own growth, and then we can help others. But until, I mean, we're all still on that journey, and we're both offering good insights to each other along the way, because I recognized in you a very similar path to what I've been on, just one that's been frustrated and upset with what the mainstream's given us, and tried so much of this stuff. And someone might say, well, you've not done it for a year, you don't really know. But honestly, when I notice when I'm doing things right, within 1 or 2 days, you know that it's working.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I had a dry needling therapist who was saying, man, you have to give the body some time, and week after week after week after month after month, and it became a year. But it's just, that's one of the things that I really like when you say people asking the right questions. All right, I'm doing this. What in what fucking environment do you live? Why do we keep doing the same and thinking the result will become completely different? And then we also have people like Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Usain Bolt, who have completely freakish DNA. You can train them in whatever fucked up way you want, but they still be producing the perfect biomechanical output. And we
foundations there,
yeah. But Tim, do you have ever? I mean, I can imagine there are much more people who would like to talk to you. Do you have a question inside your head that you would wish that somebody would ask you?
Man. Well, I don't even know what conversations I like, really. Honestly, it's things like flat Earth, which is such a crazy conversation for most people to even discuss, and it's not worth us sort of discussing the that topic. But it's people who are open to understanding how their mind is made up, and how much their beliefs are based off of their experience, and how much their beliefs are made up of what they've been told. And I just think it's a very different life when you start to live from experience. And so anyone who can have open conversations about that without coming in with an already decided perspective, because unless you've been to space yourself, then your opinion is based off of other people's data and information, and not your own. And so those conversations are the ones. I know it's quite a taboo conversation, but for me, it's like anyone who can have those conversations are people that I can chat to.
Yeah.
It's not a question answer, but I hope it helps.
And of course, you're from Britain. What's your favorite kind of sense of humor?
YouTube comments. UFC YouTube comments.
Yeah. You can make a very nice day with YouTube comments. I can also advise you porn comments.
Porn comment. Oh yeah, I've not been on it lately, but next time if I go on again, I'll check the porn comments.
So what are the favorite YouTube comments you really dig, or that pops up right now?
I like UFC a lot. So anytime an embedded happens, which is like the build up to an event, there's actually one just came out today. The comments are amazing. That's the best comedy for me. And there's Tony Ferguson is a fighter, and there's a meme going around about him saying Tony Ferguson is the type of guy to sit on the TV and watch the sofa, or Tony Ferguson is the type of guy to break up with his girlfriend to condition his heart. Or these silly but I just thought like meme humor like that. I just like,
Yeah. Well, I'm asking the question because most of the time you seem quite serious.
I like that you asked that question. I know it's in my nature. I don't know what it is. I'm such a serious guy. For me, I could blame it on star sign, whatever, I know that's bullshit to a lot of people. Aries, I'm just the front, first in, kicking the door first in, then someone steer me, So I'm serious in my nature. I can't help it. I use it as my fuel and my strength rather than fight it. But I'm the most childish person, man. Like, I'm such a big child. I want to get back to being a big child, but life is serious to get. I think, life is just so, like, you look at the coronavirus and shit, and people are fucking it's idiocracy out there. It's really idiocracy. So I find it hard to have a humor in it, but I would do better to do that, you know.
I found oh, sorry.
No, just one thing I found hilarious when I realized veganism was wrong. That was the funniest thing I've found.
Oh man, how was that feeling while you starting to notice, oh fuck, I'm gay, oh bruh.
That's why I find it funny, because I think it's the ultimate. I think God's got the best sense of humor.
So have you ever done plant medicine? Instead of you did the mushrooms, of course.
Mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote.
Right.
San Pedro. Yeah.
And with I haven't done the ayahuasca tea, but like I said, lately there's this woman in the Netherlands. Her name is Maria Johanna, and she produces, or she sells 𝙀𝙧𝙎𝙪𝙥𝙥𝙡, which is Peruvian cacao with ayahuasca. And last 2 months I did 3 ceremonies, and man, the universe got some freaking good humor, man. It's so
the universe has,
fucking strange when you're talking to the universe and the universe is showing you, yo, you did this back in the days.
Yeah.
Why did you do it that way? And then you give an answer inside your brain. It goes freakishly fast. And then, and that's not the way to go, bruh. Yeah, you could have done it. You could have done it like this, this, and this, and this.
I know exactly. The universe is funny. That's why maybe I'm so serious, because I don't find most stuff isn't funny. Like comedy, stand-up comedy isn't funny. Like what people find funny is so basic or obvious humor. You know, it's not intelligent to most humor. There's not much intelligent humor out there. There's a guy, Bo Burnham, who does intelligent stand-up. I don't know if you know him, but he does songs about the left brain and the right brain, and like he's doing the voice of both, and it's kind of clever to go into that kind of stuff. But the universe is the ultimate. God is the ultimate comedian to me.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So maybe we could say if you're quite of a blue person.
Is it what, like a down person? What's the
no? That's a color profile.
Oh, blue pill.
No. In the I know in the business world you have like color profiles that red people who are very red. They are very often leaders who thrive their vision, and they are very dominant people with a very big presence. Then you have yellow people who are very creative. Then you have blue people who are very fond of statistics and are very let's say mathematical. And then you have green, I think, who are very everything has to be in harmony. Everything has to be in harmony. And I think it's based. I'm not sure if it's based, but I think it's based on the teachings of Carl Jung.
Okay, yeah.
But
cool.
It's.
I'm quite logical, but I also, I'll take that.
Okay. So how does a day in your life look like? Because I've seen the videos where you get up and of course you get up more early so you can put on the camera and then act like you're
no, it's so fake, isn't it? But it's close enough. Like it's close enough. I sleep on the floor at the moment. I wake up with the sunrise, normally 6 o'clock. I don't go out into it necessarily, but I can. It comes in. I'm up by 6:30. I don't rush out of bed. I'll lie there for a bit. I get up. I come in here. I sit in this chair. I do some like 11 minutes of meditation. Take some reishi tincture, like the mushroom. Try not to look at a screen until about 9 o'clock. I do some work. I sell the ropes, so I make my ropes. It's kind of nice to have a hands-on manual job. Cool. Making ropes. Then maybe 9 o'clock I'll do the work on the computer, the emails, print off the delivery addresses, have some breakfast, have a steak, take the delivery to the shop. Then I'll come back. Then I'll maybe do a bit more work. Then I'll go for. I went for a run. Well, I camped last night, and then I came back and did some work, and then went for a run. Or I'm playing with kettlebells a lot at the moment, some functional stuff. Yeah. And maybe see some friends, train with them, hang out, go to a spot, a nature spot for a dip, jump in some water. I'll eat some carbs after my run. Actually, I'll have like a carb meal. Carbs. I did carnivore experiment. I've done vegan, as you know. Now I'm eating more. It's called the vertical diet. More that way, which is like rice and red meat, because they're the least stress on the digestive system. and you get all your fuel in that. So,
well, rice still contains like big amounts of gluten, right?
no gluten in rice. What? Yeah, definitely not.
No.
Yeah, man. Why rice isn't gluten?
Well, I mean, I know that lots of seeds, the outer shell, it contains,
lectins. Maybe you mean lectins. I'm not sure, but white rice is the best of the in this one that I'm trying, and it feels better. I bought expensive wild rice, black rice, brown rice, but they all have the husk. They all have the shell. White rice has been deshelled, so there's no husk.
Well, I mean, if you drink beer, you're still drinking gluten.
Yeah, but beer's wheat.
Yeah. All right. No, then I have to get deep. Then I have to get deep into the rice thing.
Yeah, it's just something I'm trying at the moment, and I like it. You could eat sweet potatoes instead, but I don't know. Root vegetables is something. Rice just seems simpler and friendlier, but it's just where I'm at the moment. But when I come back from like a run and I eat carbs and protein, I feel really satisfied. Whereas I can eat just like a protein meal or protein and fat outside of that. So I apply like keto principles sometimes, but then I'll have carbs around training, and then like a salad or a vegan. Still have a vegan meal at the other point in the day. And then normally about now I'll like airplane mode my phone, try and come off the computer. I'm reading a book called Walden at the moment, which is really good. I like logic puzzles, like Sudokus. Yeah. So often, if I've got time, if it's sunny out, I'll sit on the balcony and or go to the grass, do some logic. There's other ones that I prefer to Sudoku. Sudoku's like it's nice at entry, and once you understand it, it's fun. But there's other ones, Hidatu, Futoshiki, Kukuru, that I really enjoy them as well. So logic puzzles are great because there's no opinion, there's no memory. It's straight fact. If this, then this, and it's like calculation.
Yeah, binary.
Yeah, it's binary, and there's something that just is a good test for me for the way we eat, the way our health. Most people test their health one way. They stand on a scale, right? That's am I fatter today or thinner than yesterday? And that's we need to do like other tests. That's why yoga for me was a good test, because you notice your mobility. Has it improved? Was it tighter? Am I more inflamed or less inflamed? So I could see how my diet was affecting my body with the.
But isn't that? I mean, end range of motion doesn't mean more range of motion doesn't mean it's better. I mean, if you look at a football player, I mean, when they kick, the way the hamstring is tensioned, it means that the knee won't fly off.
It doesn't mean better, but you can still be in a squat and feel strong. You can be mobile and strong. Like
that's true.
I'm not just testing for range of motion. I'm testing for like connection and range of motion.
Right.
So like, and there's moments when you can do press ups and I feel like I'm blocked in the shoulders, or there's moments when it comes down really easy, but it feels strong and light. And I've like my press ups have gone up and down massively. I don't test them much, but my ability's gone down, up and down loads without any training, purely on diet, not being inflamed. When you're inflamed and you're fighting the inflammation to do a range of motion, it's just, that's a whole other thing. But things like that, and that's what I'm saying with the Sudoku tests, or the logic puzzles. Sometimes your brain is firing, and then if I'm eating like carbs or like processed carbs and sugars or things like that, my brain I just can't function, or I'm just stressed. It annoys me, And there's a test then that my brain is not where it could be when I'm eating whole food, like organic whole foods. That's a factor. But then like getting sunlight, or going for walks or camping in the night, and not having my phone on me rather than being by the Wi-Fi box.
Yeah.
We need these little daily checks that we can do, that you might come up with different ones for yourself rather than just the scale. You like, do you know when your hair feels healthy and when it's not? Does it feel dry some days and it feels like sick some days? Do your nails, how strong? I let my nails grow out. People always say, "Oh, why are you growing your nails?" Like they're a sign of how healthy I am, how my nutrition's working, how strong they are, if they're weak and brittle, or if the skin is cutting up below them. You have like cuts in your mouth or spots in your nose. Like, these are signs. I was waking up with blocked nose, and I was having a lot of or olive oil. I thought olive oil was healthy. I cut out the olive oil. I'm not waking up with blocked nose. Like you need to do tests, and we need to find tests and that you do every day or every other day or few days just to see are my practices working or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you get your knowledge? I mean, that's one of the things that I really wanted to ask you. And were you in America with Paul Chek hanging out, or were you on the phone or a video call?
I've not met Paul Chek yet. When I went to San Diego, we tried to arrange to meet, but it didn't. I ended up just staying in the whirlwind that was David Weck for 2 weeks, and I never ended up seeing Paul Chek. But so I've not met him in person. But next time I go over, we're going to try and meet up, I think.
Yeah. So how was it for you to speak to that person?
That was a blessing from God, because honestly, of all the people to recognize my journey and give me confirmation that I was doing the right thing, there couldn't have been a better person than Paul Chek. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're coming out of veganism and you're getting all this attack, and then Paul Chek reaches out because he sees your story. Like that really helped. That was God just, giving me a little wink.
Yeah.
But most of my knowledge is from experience. Like I don't necessarily read loads of books on like practices and things like that or study, but I see stuff online, or you mention stuff to me and I might go play with it with my body. A lot of it's just experimentation.
All right. But do you have any favorite podcasts, for instance, or favorite YouTube channels, or?
At the moment, Strongfit's a good YouTube, but and podcast, but that's more just for like the strongman stuff. I think is there's potential there that I think a lot of stuff is hidden by our egos and perspectives. So when we think of strongmen, I think a lot of us don't look to strongmen for how to fix our body or but they're lifting the heaviest weights out of any human, so they know a thing or two about connections in the body. I was doing yoga for years, and I had this inner ankle injury, and with FP didn't help my ankles at all, because it's a lot of core stuff. So it was helping certain things, but other things were getting worse. And I had this lower lat injury with FP, because you're always here. They don't allow end range of motion. Weckmethod fixed my lower lat, but what fixed my ankles was strongman training, because I was holding the weight. Yeah.
You told in the latest human experience.
I won't go into it too much now, but it's like years of doing yoga, and what I needed was some strongman training. But there's truth. At the end of the day, there's truth on all sides. If you do some strongman training, some Weckmethod, some yoga, some FP, some gymnastics training, some running, you're gonna find some answers within all those practices. You just have to dig pretty deep with it.
Yeah, but I think you're coming a far way by saying, right, we're human. We walk from point A to B. Maybe it's smart to train in that same context, and check out what's your blueprint. And then again, you go to when I go to the story of the polar bear. If your DNA is from, let's say, Scandinavia, you live with a certain degree of the sun beaming on the earth, your DNA evolved, and the same goes for African people. And I think we have to really understand what is the blueprint of life, what is the blueprint of the human experience, of the human life, and how can we symbiotically bring that together so them both can live optimal. And I think if you think out of a way like that, then you will get answers. Instead of validation based upon looks, money, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. What is symbiotic with nature? That way to live is. We're so far from it with all the EMF, like you say, non-native EMFs. But I think the power of the internet is going to self-destruct itself in a way. We're getting all this information through the internet to help us leave the internet. It's exciting.
That's completely true. I Thomas, the mitochondria expert, he is reading Rudolf Steiner at the moment, and Steiner also predicted that the human race would invent a technology that would bring us together and destroy. How do you say together, and like split up humanity more than ever before.
That's exactly what this is, isn't it?
Yeah.
The internet. Yeah, social distancing.
Are you looking for any supplements to boost your health? because you want to restore, maintain, or achieve optimal health? Our friends at Ergomax from the Netherlands got you covered. From deuterium depleted water, enzymes and probiotics to magnesium and vitamin C. It is your one-stop shop for supplements. I know the owners and I know they care about quality, and they themselves are an example of healthy human beings. And 3 of my previous guest experts are very happy with their products. They use them personal and for their patients as well. I'm talking about mitochondrial expert Thomas van Doorn, clinical psycho-neuroimmunologist Ruud Elvers and biological dentist Merlon van Ravenstein. If they would not approve, I would not be sharing Ergomax. Thomas, Ruud and Merlon helped me big time achieving a more optimal form of health in my life. So let me help you helping yourself. Get your supplements at Ergomax and feel free to send me your experience with their products. You'll find the link in the description and the show notes. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, it's completely retarded, man. I'm looking at this whole stuff, and now the first month I was so completely frustrated and full with anger, and I watched everything I could get my hands on, and but then you have to let go, because then eventually you are the person who's projecting their own truth upon everybody else, and
based off of what is happening in your physical experience, not on the internet. What changed? Like, what was big? And nothing really, like, obviously the shops were different, but there was no one dropping dead in the street. There was none of this, like, all this stuff that was fear on the internet wasn't happening. Now, if the time comes when when they're going to make a vaccine, they try and make a vaccine, you have to have one, then I will speak up and fight. But there was nothing to waste energy on in the first few months.
No. But then again, I also, I'm not sure where I got that from, but there was this experiment, or this group of biologists in Asia who were following a group of apes. And they found one of the monkeys found out that when he or she washed the sweet potato in salt seawater, that it would taste much more better. Yeah. So and eventually,
the other ones discovered it as well.
The other members of the group started doing it as well, and then the biologists found out that all over the world, the same species of monkeys changed their behavior and all started washing their sweet potato in salt water. So that's a very evident factor of you changing your consciousness for the better of your species, of the planet, and then suddenly the whole conscious level changes everywhere worldwide. So I have the feeling that, all right, I did my part of washing my sweet potato by getting all the information I need to get a bit.
But you don't know that the information was true.
That's true. There
was another side of the same coin. Like, the biggest agenda of a new world order is fear. Like, as long as you're sharing fear, it doesn't matter whether it's their truth or your truth or the 5G or the coronavirus. It's all fear that was getting spread. Whereas if you want to wash your sweet potato, you be as happy and healthy as possible. You know what I mean? You focus on meditate until you're beaming, whatever it is. But if that stuff brought you down, like you said it did for that month, then that's energy gone for the month. And that's the trap of information. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, in this perspective, I chose to not live that way. I watched the first Ike interview. I watched Ike Rose 1. And I filled my car with fucking bags of rice and frozen steaks. And I drove out to the middle of the Wales. And I was afraid. And I was fighting it. And that night I slept, and I woke up and I drove home the next day, and my energy, and I didn't watch another one of them, because it was not serving me to get that energy. And the best thing I could do was focus on myself, on my own healing, and grow. And I grew so much in the last 2 months. I started a business. I've been running like I've never ran in 2 or 3 years before, consistently. Like, I did so much because I just focused on myself. And like you said, rising tide lifts all boats. Rising consciousness lifts everyone up. Yeah. So if your frequency is health and light and love, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's true. But I think in getting a bit more deeper into what is happening, being aware, and then consciously saying, all right, fuck this. I'm not giving my attention and my awareness to this anymore. You're making a decision out of awareness. instead of being subconscious and just doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, okay.
And
I already don't trust the government anyway, so there's nothing.
No, me too. And I know I don't have privacy is an illusion.
Yeah.
But I like the message that David Icke gave at the ending. Is, I mean, eventually it's about love. It is about letting be what is, and reminding yourself of that. And I think that was a very strong point at the ending, that this is how he sees the situation, and this is the answer. It's love.
Well, he's right there. He's certainly right there.
And there he is, absolutely right. But you said you started the business because now you're making your own ropes and you're selling them the ropes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting one. I'm starting a new job this Friday, so I'll finally have some coins to spend.
Top man.
I'm gonna get a rope. Can I also get the stuff for the feet?
The Weck steps, I don't have them. No, I'm going to potentially start wholesaling other Weck products from the UK, because otherwise the shipping's crazy for people.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just the rope. But the rope it's so magical, and it's going to take over, man. It's the most positive, addictive practice you can do. It bridges the gap between meditation and physical training.
Yeah,
there's nothing like it. Yeah, there's nothing like it, and you're going to love it. So I just what I do is if I love something and I'm passionate, then I just dive into it. Why not? Like it's helped me, so it can help others. So I'll do it. And the difference with this and like veganism is it's not an opinion. Like I don't even like talking about it, trying to sell it, to be honest, because I'm not here to sell it. But those that try it get the benefits, and within 1 second.
And that's the cool thing. I this week I also spoke to my brother, and my brother said, "You're Expression Man." So, damn, that's a fucking awesome nickname, Expression Man. That's when I was young, I just wanted to be a musician. I play piano, drums, bass, guitar.
Yeah.
I sang, and I just really, really fucking love it when everybody can feel the same vibration. You know, when you're all experiencing the music balls deep through your chest, and you're all feeling the bass, and you're looking towards each other, and you can exactly how the other is feeling. That's really what I like. And I think that's similar when I hear some use something like, I don't even want to sell it, but I just love it when somebody else can experience what I can experience, what I experience. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like I started to do some Facebook ads, and I put like 5 days of £10 a day onto like. And then I was like, what am I even doing? Like, I'm not, like, I don't care. Like, the people that get it right now are the ones I want to get it. Like, it's a beautiful thing, and they're the ones that have earned it. Like, I really see it that way, that people that discover this stuff are the ones that have done the self-work to discover it. Like, I'm not trying to get it into every nook and cranny of the world. Like, those that are meant to find it right now have found it and are finding it, and it's a blessing to us all.
And how is? You said you started the business, and is that the
way of the rope?
Right. All right.
Yeah. So it's just the rope at the moment, but I just started that. I was like, because when I first got into rope and I came back to the UK, Weckmethod ropes, the shipping is crazy and the customs on top is crazy. I was like, how can I get this to my friends? I want to share it with my friends. So I went to loads of like DIY shops and bought rope, and I bought rope on Amazon and eBay and all these different, and none of them were as good as the Weckmethod rope. And so I found another rope source. I bought like 10 or so different ropes off of this one website and sampled all these different ones. And I found the one that felt like the best weight and the best thickness and looked the best for like a natural color rather than like a bold color.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot to find the right rope. And so then I thought, why don't I just buy, hundreds of meters of this and make ropes for people? And it's a mindful practice of, cut rope, carry water. What do they say? Chop wood, carry water. Like,
yeah.
I just cut ropes and I tie the knots and I put a blessing on the ropes and send them to people who are ready to a new experience in the body.
Yeah. You could start a live stream, Tim making ropes.
Yeah, bro. I started one when you were setting up. I just sit here. I've got a box of ropes. Here's some I cut earlier. I just sort of tie. I've got one knot in the handle there.
Nice.
I've got to tie the other one. And it's nice because I've got a projector on there.
Yeah.
I don't have a TV. So in the evening, I put on Netflix on a projector. So I'm looking at light on a wall, which is it's a solution for people who don't want to look at a screen in the evening.
Yeah.
Projector, So you're not staring at LED lights in your eyeballs. So I put on Last Dance. I've been watching the Michael Jordan thing,
Yeah.
And I just tie ropes, and it's a mindful practice.
Nice, man. Very awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the way you can easily afford your life.
God's like if you stay true to your passions and you're like, it all works out. But there must be certain beliefs that I have about it that help as well. But I had the vegan clothing company. When I stopped being vegan, I wanted to carry on and make the clothing not just ethical clothing without the vegan slogans. But they wanted to carry it on being a vegan clothing company. So I managed to sell my shares to some vegan companies. And so I got some money from them, which helped support me. So with that money I invested, I did a bushcraft course, a mountaineering course. I did functional patterns course. I'm going to do a Strongfit course. I did Weckmethod. So I just invested. I had some money to like chill and plan my next plan of life. And I didn't know what it was going to be. So I just invested in courses.
Yeah.
And Weckmethod was the one that came up, and the ropes has come to my life at the right time. And I've got a business and I'm helping people, and it's going to help me to do what I want. Right? Yeah,
nice, man. And you just started the new podcast, The Human Experience.
Rediscover Human.
Oh, sorry, Rediscover Human. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a very nice episode, the latest one about the fitness industry, where you also spoke about the Weckmethod and.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about it, I'd say check that podcast out.
Yeah. We'll link it. We'll link it into the video.
Thank you.
What is? I already mentioned that in the introduction, that I have the feeling that you're a very honest human being, and that is really But do you have any future plans, or you just going with the flow at the moment, or is there any thought on that?
No, it's a good question. So at the moment, I want to really go deep with the Weckmethod and the strongman training combined, because as I said in that thing, I think there's a way for us to be strong and athletic and supple leopard. Basically, you can be a big. I call it big cat training. But I just think that's the ultimate joy of a human, is like a strong but supple body, and just not many people have it. And yet, if there's a tool for us to train it, who wouldn't want to be able to do it if they use it respectfully? So that's more my experimentation now, is to dig deeper into the strongman training, because I'm not really done any. We're just playing with it at the moment, and just to see how that helps heal the body, because it healed my ankle. I was worried.
But maybe it healed your ankle. Are there any other parts in your body that maybe it took over? I mean, I know from one of my other podcast guests that he fixed a tennis elbow, and then the problem came back into the liver or in the stomach. So
I definitely think when you fix things, but I had lots of knee injuries when I was younger and had knee surgeries. I got into barefoot running. My knee injuries went away, but then I got ankle issues. So things travel downstream or upstream. They do highlight other stuff, but the logic of the strongman training, it's because it's in our DNA to lift heavy shit that's a natural shape and size, whereas barbell lifting is completely. And Naudi's completely right about barbell training for the most part, in terms of it can cause a lot of problems. Strongman training is far more natural, and there's a lot less injuries because you have to apply far more structure in the body. And what doing sandbag squats, simply sandbag squats, it built structure on my inner thighs. It respected that the muscles wrap around the bones, and I had weak inner muscles and strong external muscles from lifting a barbell. So when I corrected the internal, it fixed the ankles. Nothing else has got noticeably worse from that. That's just what's great is when you fix one injury, then you can just focus on, because when you've got loads of injuries, you don't know where to focus.
Yeah, that's true.
So now I can focus on this, and my upper body feels great. My ankles feel a lot stronger now. Now I can focus on the dentienne, the center, this core, this last deep emotional mass in my belly.
Yeah, and then again, you experiment with a new form of movement, and you learn new new muscles, new movement.
I learned
You
so
get a
much
feeling
about,
again.
about my body, which muscles aren't turning on and which ones we all have bodies and we move so differently. Like some people move with their glutes and some people don't have the glutes on at all, as you learn from FP, right? Like,
Yeah.
But that TRE, I'm going to try the TRE.
Yeah, maybe. And are you dropping by in the Netherlands soon? Any chance? Man, I would love to do a rope training.
Where do you live in Netherlands?
In Haarlem. That's near. That's to the left of Amsterdam. So I live near the coast.
So the Strongfit, I might do the Strongfit qualification. It's in Amsterdam.
Well, then you're sleeping at my place.
No way.
Dude,
that would be amazing. We can.
Yeah, sure, man. Haarlem is super. It's like 15 minutes driving.
You know what? I literally thought today. I was like, if I book that, I'm going to have to book accommodation. I thought about the thought of booking accommodation in Amsterdam today, and then you say that. So.
Yeah, well, that's the universe.
That's the universe.
That's the universe, bro.
God, yeah.
No, okay. That's absolutely fine, man. Then we can hang out and. You can meet the Dutch Paul check, Ruud Elvis. You can meet Thomas van Doorn and some other awesome people if they're around and they want to hang out too.
Sure.
But cool, dope.
I'll bring your rope in person. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
So you're doing a strong fit.
So Strongfit is a guy who's a strongman coach, but he applies the principles of internal and external torque to the training, which is the same in Weckmethod of rotational intention. Which is the same in, I'm not sure. Those are the main two that talk about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, maybe we need to get Mark Bell down to the Netherlands as well. I'm very curious how he would how he would do the rope, man. But there's so many awesome people around the world that I still want to meet and hang out with, pick their brains. All right, let's go to the end of the conversation because you also have a life.
Yeah, I want to turn off the radiation and the
exactly. What are non-negotiables for you on a daily basis, Tim?
Oof, non-negotiables. A walk, I guess. A walk, man. I've got to go for a walk. I went on a walk and a run today, so at least one.
All right.
Probably went on 2 walks actually. Yeah,
two walks. And if we call 5 of your best friends and ask, "Hey, yo, what's the superpower of Tim?" What would they give as an answer?
Drive, self-belief. I don't know. Yeah,
self-belief.
Yeah, man. I don't know how people see me. I just know how I see myself.
All right. Well, I got most of the questions of Brian Rose, and I just really liked him. And this is my way of saying having gratitude for the work he puts out.
He does, yeah.
And I think he also asked you this question when you were at London Real, but he always asks if we would be able to give you a magical phone and you could ring the 20-year-old Tim. What would you tell him now?
Man, if I could start the rope at 12, because obviously in my mind, this is a chapter of life I'm in. You know what I mean? I have no regrets or anything, but if I could come out of veganism 3 years earlier than I did, that would be a nice bonus. I think 6 years was just too much deterioration at that point.
I can imagine. Yeah. What is the best day and the worst day of your life? Start with the worst.
Man, you just trying to go deep with 5 questions in a row. Like, first worst day of my, I don't know, man. Best day would be like running a marathon for fun in the mountains.
That sounds lit.
The worst day would be having a knee injury and struggling to walk from the bathroom to my bed. You know?
Wow. But also then again, it also made you get in the right direction of learning the human experience. So.
Oh, absolutely. I've had those days, man. I've had all those days.
Yeah. So Tim, how can people find you?
Instagram at Human Timothy. My website is humantimothy.co.uk. That's the ropes and everything's on there. And if you're into the rope, I made a Way of the Rope Instagram at Way of the Rope. But that's the main ones. Humantimothy.co.uk at Human Timothy.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, listening. If you have any questions, please drop them down below and enjoy life. Love and light, guys. Cheers.
Yeah. Big up, Matthijs. Thanks for having me on, brother. And I'll come to Amsterdam and I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'll just fix all the stuff.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks, bro.
All right, Tim. Thank you very much, man.
Peace, bro.